Hey everybody, welcome back to the channel. If you haven't seen my previous video about repairing rotten post frame posts, you might not realize that I'm standing in the exact same spot as that last video. However, it looks a little different all around me. I'm posted lately because the last couple of weeks, in addition to being busy at work, I have been working my butt off in here to get things done by winter, which is sneaking up faster than I'd like. Since last time, not only have we graded and poured the floor, we put in the grade board, there's a couple new windows in, we're starting to put house wrap up and just seal this space back in instead of it being like an open air pavilion that it was in the last video. Before I talk more about the floor and heating, insulation, what's next, I want to take a second to mention some good comments on the last couple videos. Both these comments were from Vulcan499. This guy, if he doesn't know a lot about post frames, he's faking it very well because he made some good points here. First comment was, he said, the reason the post rotted that badly and that quickly is because the builder used untreated or UC4A posts instead of properly treated posts. So yes, it is 100% the builder's fault, either through ignorance or cost cutting. If the builder had used the correct UC4B posts, there would be little to zero rot. He then goes on to talk about a USFS study with posts in a swamp in Mississippi. Vulcan, if you're watching or if anybody else knows more about that study, I'm pretty curious to see more about that, because if they're in a swamp and intact, that'd be pretty impressive, because I'm in fairly dry ground and there was, little bitty twigs of post left about 2 to 3 feet below grade. So, in response to that comment, talking to some other folks around here who had the same buildings put up at about the same time, said the same thing. They all had issues with their posts from these buildings, from the same companies. In contrast to people who had other buildings from other companies and had little to zero rot. So, yeah, they're kind of known for that in this part. And I'm not going to name who it was. If you're from around here, you probably know who put this building up now. He also commented that using the metal sleeve system on every post could have saved me a lot of digging. Wood posts are supposed to have concrete pads on compacted soil that prevents sinking. Again, saying the builder had no clue. And then he asked, did he even use ring shank nails? Yes, he did. They are a pain to get out in spots where I've had to pull some boards out. They did have a little bit of concrete down there, not a lot. I was talking to the guy pouring the floor here. He basically says, just bag concrete in the hole, that's it. I think the bigger problem with the sinking was they didn't go beneath the frost line. Like I said in the last video, one post was only about 18 inches deep. The rest of them were 3 to 4 if you were lucky. So that probably didn't help with the sinking. Also, the rotting was probably a bigger factor in that the post wasn't really connected to that concrete base anymore. As for the metal sleeve system, again, with there being that little post yet, I was a little wary of using that. Also, as far as I could tell, there was not a contractor who does the metal sleeve system in the area, so I was a little bit out of luck on that, hence all the digging and the Midwest Perma Columns that I did use, which are working great. I'm really happy. The building's really solid. The mason that I had come in and pour the floor was pretty impressed with how things went. So, speaking of the floor, we got a slab down. After I filmed the last video, pretty much the next thing I did was I put in the grade boards, which are treated 2x6s, and I made I put a wrap board on the bottom so there's a channel for the insulation to sit in. The concrete's not going to the outside of the building. More than one way to skin a cat in this area, that's how I decided to do it. Once the grade boards were in, I had a good solid plane to work off of to level the aggregate that I put down, the sand I put down, the foam I put down. Everything was off the laser, and the laser was set off the grade board, so everything was good there. After I got all that down, compacted, heating tubes put in, manifold plumbed up and air checked, Concrete guys came in, and in one day they did a fabulous job. There was 5 guys and myself here. 2.5 truckloads later, we have a floor. So, like I mentioned, there are heating PEX tubes in the floor, and they're actually, we did this a little differently than most people did. I was working off of the suggestion of the fellow who poured the floor. Him and his son just did this in his son's building. They were really happy with it, so I decided to try it too. In that the pipes aren't actually in the concrete, they're in sand underneath the concrete, and then the foam's underneath that sand with the base underneath that foam. Vapor barriers in between. So the reason he liked the sand was he felt that it spread the heat better to the concrete, and that it acted as a heat sink. And I know what some people will do is leave the whole middle of the floor open from foam, have sand underneath that, and that'll be their heat sink. Well, this is kind of the same principle as that, just doing it a little differently. Probably a little bit more cost to doing it this way in the foam and having to buy more sand, but he's the guy going and pouring the floor for me, so I went with his recommendation, and I think it's going to work out just fine. The other big advantage I have with this is if I need to drill and put in wedge anchors or even anchors going all the way through the concrete, I am far less likely to hit one of my tubes and cause a leak in my heating system, which would be very bad. So that's where we're at. The floor is fantastic. Kevin and Keith, if you wind up seeing this video, great job guys, really appreciate it. And everybody else that came in to help out too, you guys are all awesome, thank you very much. Next things we're going to be doing, like I said, I started on the windows. I'm going to be working on that next. Doors, finishing the house wrap up, and just getting this building closed in. Once that's done, steel is ordered to do the wainscot to replace all the steel I took out when I did the posts. It's back ordered right now. Who knows when it's going to come in. That's going to be going up soon. I want to do the windows first because the way they did the windows on this building originally, I didn't like it. They were on the outside. I want the nailing flange tucked in behind the steel. It just seems like a better idea to me. Trim them out a little better. So it was easier to put the windows in before I do the bottom steel, because then all the steel that's left on the building is disconnected. I can kind of fold it away, tuck the window up behind it. I've done it on 2 out of the 3 windows now. It's working great. Probably trim them out tomorrow. And eventually I'm going to have to do the upper steel on this building because I don't like how it is either. Especially around the windows now that I've done them different. There's a more gap than I would like between the window and the steel where the trim's going to go. This steel's getting really faded too. Also, they didn't put any eaves on 3 out of the 4 sides of the building. I really would rather have eaves. It looks better. It's easier to do gutters and whatnot. Should the gutters fail, it's not running right down the building. There's at least a little bit of a gap there. So that's years down the road though. I'm tired of working on this building. I'd like to get back to my projects that go in the building. So, as always guys, thanks for watching. I really do appreciate it. There's a lot more to do in here. There's electrical hanging. I'm still taking stuff down as I'm putting stuff up. We're going to have to end the video here though because I'm running out of light, and like I said, no electric in here right now. So, thanks for watching guys. Hit like and subscribe if you found this video helpful, and we'll see you next time.